John, welcome today. We've got a good subject today, especially in today's world of electronics, screen time. So, how do we manage screen time boundaries in a household? How do we, how does a parent address that?
Well, I'm going to take a really hard line position on this. I'm going to take a really hard line position because I'm very familiar with the research that's been done that connects serious problems with child mental health with exposure to screens. And so my recommendation for parents is the minute you start trying to manage screen time, it's going to get out of control. Everybody lives busy lives these days. And you try and manage your child's screen time, you're not only managing your own life, now you're trying to manage your child's. It's a losing proposition in my estimation. And most parents, almost all parents that I've ever talked to who are trying to manage their children's screen time are failing miserably at it. So my very unpopular hardline position is you don't provide children with screens that they can abuse. So they may need an iPad or they may need a Chrome book computer to do their schoolwork, fine and dandy. But children do not need smartphones. Smartphones in the hands of boys are accessing pornography. Access to pornography at an early age is definitely associated with mental health issues in young boys, not to mention the long-term consequences of their entire attitude toward human sexuality. So parents say, well, I want my child to have a phone so that he can contact me. And my answer is, there are phones in the marketplace, the old flip phone type phone that you can buy your child. These phones will make calls, receive calls, and they will text, but they will not access the internet. And that's extremely important. It's important for girls too. What are girls doing when they access social media? They're creating soap operas. They're creating alter egos that act out these soap operas.
That's huge. That's interesting.
And what
So,
they're trying to do through social media is attract attention to themselves with these alter egos. And plenty of research has demonstrated that this is as harmful to the mental health of girls as accessing pornography is to the mental health of boys.
so I haven't pushed back yet in any of the videos we've done, but I'm going to push back. So, here's my pushback. I still see that there's value in phones for kids and being able to access some type of social media. There's platforms on social media that are learning platforms. There's devices, there's channels, there's influencers that are positive influencers that they can get on and use access to. So, I mean, and I think there's also that playtime period where their kids are sharing funny videos or something that's happening on Snapchat or something like that. So I feel like there has to be some part of it, I mean, because society as a whole is driving everything to electronic devices. First of all, I mean, half these kids have to access all their school stuff via their phones. Their coaches have group text messages through school approved programs where they're communicating with the kids. Kids are videoing each other. Even here at PAL, like, oh, tonight's sparring night, I want to, yo, can you video me here in PAL and I'll put it up on social media to show people what they're doing and, you know, the camaraderie. They share pictures of themselves at summer camp and things of that sort. So, part of me says they should be have that access and be on social media to an extent. It's just the policing of all that.
Sure. I appreciate you playing the devil's advocate with that. Every example that you pointed out, we could
Of course,
run through them.
we can burn this
But
for hours and
yeah,
hours and
and
hours.
it's a controversial subject,
It
and
is.
I understand that. But and you know something, there are some kids who can be completely trusted with
100%. I agree.
electronic devices. My experience has been that I counsel with parents whose kids have had serious problems with these devices. And the fact of the matter is that you don't know
No, you don't.
when you give your child one of these devices, whether this child is going to be one of the kids who develops a serious problem or is going to be one of the less frequent kids who doesn't develop a problem.
And I hear too, it's like, oh, I've got all the watchdog apps on my kid's phone. They're not going to be able to have access to any of that. I said, but they're sitting next to another child that doesn't have all those
Yeah.
blockers on their phone. So they're just going like this. Oh, cool. Look what you got on your phone. I can't put it on my phone, but I can sit here and watch it on your phone.
Well, every example that you raised fell into one of two categories: that either the parent is there supervising the child or some other adult authority figure is there supervising the child. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with if a child is being supervised at home or in an environment such as the environment that you provide children through your coaching, mentoring, and leadership programs. Noel, I have no problem with kids under that sort of supervised control, accessing social media, accessing, influencers of various sorts that adults have vetted in advance, know what the
right.
child is going to be exposed to, but letting kids have these devices in an unsupervised way, I think you're just asking for trouble.
Yeah. It's definitely, I think, one of the hardest pieces to parenting in today's day and age
Absolutely.
is this phone.
Yeah.
And, we see a lot of absentee parents, and the only other parent the child and then picks up is the phone. Like, I don't need a parent. I don't need to go to dad and ask him a question because I could just pick up my phone and find the answer there. And, that's going to create a problem now going forward with these kids as they grow up because they're stopping to approach a mentor or a parent or a guardian and say, hey, I need help with this situation. Can you help me? They're just going right to the phone. So I don't need the adults anymore. And I think that's creating a problem for parents all over the place.
Yeah. Well, to provide children, instead of giving them a device and letting them have the device on their, at whim, to have these devices available and to only let your children use them in the home under your supervision, fine and dandy. I have no problem with that because, in fact, you are correct. There is some stuff on the internet that's very valuable for kids to see. I use these devices. I don't use them nearly as much as a teenager uses them or would use them if they were
Stuck to their faces.
But there's some stuff that if I was raising children today, I'd want my kids to watch, and I'd sit down with my kids and say, we're going to watch this, together and talk about it. But letting a kid have it and just do what he wants with it, no. Asking for trouble.
Yeah, this is this is a contentious subject with everyone, everything, schools, parents, society, government, whatever it may look. I mean, everybody's trying to figure this out and get their arms around it. And we as parents are just have to try our best to monitor that situation.
One of the things that I hear from parents in this regard is, and the statement is almost word for word, regardless of the parent that I'm talking to, I don't want my child to be the only kid in his social group who doesn't have a phone or doesn't have a smartphone. Because again, I have no problem with cell phones. It's smartphones that's the issue. And I find that to be, from my own perspective and the perspective of my own experience as a child, almost humorous. Parents think this is going to be in some way, shape, or form highly restrictive in terms of the child's social life and create depression and everything else. But you talk to people my age, and one of our parents' favorite sayings was, if all your friends jump off a cliff, are you going to follow? In other words, our parents had no problem whatsoever denying us something that all of our friends had. And our mental health, statistically, Noel, verifiably, kids who were raised in the 1950s under those, and I'm using the term humorously, draconian circumstances, our mental health was 10 times better than the mental health of today's children. We were a lot happier. And we were a lot happier because, to a great extent, I talked earlier about the fact that children need both unconditional love and unequivocal authority. Both love and authority provide a strong, solid foundation of security for a child. The child may not like the way the authority is meted out by the parent, but intuitively the child comes to an understanding this is good for him. And no is nothing more than an expression of authority. And in the final analysis, children who are told no, it doesn't injure their mental health. It strengthens it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like when you're knocked down, that's when you're at your strongest point.
Very true. If you have the right support system.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, John, thank you so much talking about that screen time and the electronics battle that we have to deal with every single day.
You're welcome, man. Thank you.
All right.